to my gardening vlog. Hello everybody. So, the weather has turned totally diabolical. It is freezing, and that rain, that kind of, I call it mizzle, that rain that just goes right through you. It's absolutely shocking weather. But I did manage to actually dodge it during the week and do some filming. So the beginning of this vlog is a continuation of my May sew along for Instagram. I gave myself lots of work to do. So at the end of April, I had a harebrained idea that I would do a May sew along on Instagram. And I said I was going to sow a different vegetable seed every day in Instagram according to the moon phases. All right. So that was great idea in, thinking about it. But then when it actually came to do it, I thought to myself, wow, I've actually got quite a lot of work to do, because it meant that I would have to film. And whilst they're only, most of them are kind of less than 2.5 minutes, whilst they're that length, I had to then edit everything and then put it on Instagram. So that has taken most of my week. So what I've done is I've already put on half of the month on YouTube, but I never actually gave you a reason why I was doing it. So I'm sorry about that. If all of a sudden this really long video turned up on YouTube with all these little excerpts of me doing my May sew along, I'm sorry about that. So now I've explained to you what I did and how much time it has taken. So the first few little snippets on this vlog are my continuation of seed sowing for May and what seeds I was sowing. And the reason why I've put it on YouTube is because it's actually quite interesting to see what you can still sow at this time of year. A lot of people do most of their sowing in April, and then when it comes to May, they just stop and then become very overwhelmed with all the seedlings and the small pots that they have to actually transplant and do, keep going with your gardening. So you can, some of these seeds you can still sow in June. And when I do my what I am sowing for June video, I will mention the ones that you can actually still sow in June, and you can still sow them because it was only a few weeks ago. And actually I just did one now. Today was kohlrabi. Then, it's still very relevant. So if you haven't sown any of these seeds and you want to, have a look at my little snippets, and it might get you enthusiastic to do a little bit of sowing. So until then, and then the other, I got to go over to the allotment. I haven't been over to do the allotment a great deal this week because the weather has been shocking, really shocking. And then of course, when the weather's good, I'm working. So that's no good to me, is it? But I did get over to the allotment. I went on a leaves day and had a look. You wait till you see this beautiful kale that I've got. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I did that, and the allotment's looking really good now, and I just keep transplanting and transplanting and transplanting constantly. So I hope you enjoy the vlog and my little snippets, and I am finished doing my May sew along obviously this coming week. So that will be it for that. And then I can get back to doing proper, videos for YouTube. I haven't forgotten that I have got a veggie pod video to do, and I'm also going to talk to you about my citrus and some other things as well. So I haven't forgotten about those things. The big veggie pod is completely empty. There are 2 lettuce heads in there and that's it. And that's going to be replanted. So that is what I'm going to concentrate on. The other veggie pods I did in my sow along. So one has got cut and come lettuce and the other one has got radishes. So yeah, hope you had a good week and I will see you all later. Enjoy. Bye.
Hello and welcome to day 22 of your May Sow Along with Susie B. Today is a flowers day on the moon phase calendar, so I am going to be sowing cauliflowers. When you buy cauliflower from the shops, they are nearly always creamy white. But if you grow your own, you can grow purple, you can grow orange ones, you can grow green ones, and you can even kind of grow little mini diddy cauliflowers. Growing decent cauliflowers is all about timing, and this sowing is what I call my late crop cauliflowers that will be going out in June, and I hope to harvest them in autumn sometime, probably about October. At this time of year, I like to grow Romanesco. It does really well in a May sowing and then later on in the autumn. I don't grow it any other time of the year. I also grow my graffiti cauliflowers, which are the purple ones, but I seem to have run out of seeds, so I need to get some more of those seeds. And if you've got clubroot and you're dealing with that, you might want to think about one called Clapton. It's an F1 and it's really good at clubroot resistance. Well, I needn't remind you what a brassica seed looks like, but anyhow, here they are. And as always, I like to sow in these cells. I'm going to put about 3 seeds, maybe 4 seeds per cell. And I'm going to do all of these for Romanesco because, like I said, I only sow these at this time of year and we love them very much. Cover with compost and then give them a good water. But I don't think I'll have to today because we have got lots of rain and I am just dodging it at this moment in time. And don't forget to put your label in. It now goes on my little May Sow Along table, and I just want to show you something. Remember day 3? These were the calibres, so they are ready to prick out. Join me tomorrow for a leaves day on the moon phase calendar, and I will be sowing Swiss chard. Hello and welcome to day 23 of your May Sow Along with Windy Susie B. Not Windy Susie B. Today is a leaves day on the moon phase calendar and I am going to be sowing Swiss chard if it doesn't fly away, or silver beet if you're in another part of the world. It's a very useful leaf to have in the summer when your true spinach has gone to seed. You can also grow perpetual spinach, which is very similar to chard, and you can use it alongside spinach for the rest of the year and use it in stir fries. You can eat the stems as well. It is very delicious. It can be a little bit unpredictable when growing it. Sometimes it goes to seed if you sow too early or because of the summer heat. But I find that a May sowing does pretty well. It's going to go into the ground in July, probably the end of July, and then it will be ready at the end of autumn. There are a few varieties that I like for colour, but there is one variety that I love for its taste. And it's this one, Swiss chard Barese. It's an Italian variety. It is gorgeous. It has the kind of consistency like a pak choi. So the stems are really soft. The leaves are really delicious and soft as well. It doesn't have those kind of hard stems like normal Swiss chard has. If I am going to recommend one variety, it will be this variety. We absolutely love it. Swiss chard is related to the beetroot family, and as you can see, the seeds are the same. They're cluster seeds. So because there's going to be more than one plant per seed, I only sow 2 to 3 seeds per cell. Again, I've filled my cells with compost and I have made a 1 centimetre indentation with my finger, and now I'm just going to sow all of these seeds. I'm going to then cover them with compost again, give them a good water, and they are going on my seed sowing table for May. And while we're at my little sowing station, let's have a little revisit of some of the other leaves that we sowed earlier in the month. Day 4, lettuce. Day 5, coriander. And day 6, spring onions. Join me tomorrow for another Leaves Day on the moon phase calendar, and I will be sowing Brussels sprouts. Hello and welcome to day 24 of your May Sew Along with Susie B.
Yay!
You're going to ask, why am I in this daft hat? But it is because I am getting all Christmassy and I am going to sow Brussels sprouts because it's a Leaves Day on the moon phase calendar. And Mr. N does like a Brussels sprout or two for his Christmas dinner. So, to satisfy my needy husband, and because it's May and it's a great time to sow Brussels sprouts, that's what we're doing today. I know that they stay in the ground a long time, but they are well worth it. We love roasting them and also stir frying them with chestnuts and bacon. Let's go and sow some. The variety that I like to grow for winter is this one here. It's called Breast. It's an F1. It's a very tall variety and it has a lot of Brussels sprouts on it. It can also stay in the ground until March, and then you don't even lose any flavour on the Brussels sprouts. It is a great variety. The other really good winter variety is Philly Basket. That's another really good variety. I know that these seeds are going to come up because I've used them before and they're very fresh. So I am just going to sow 1 seed per cell here. You can sow 2 or 3 and then you can thin out if you want to. I never sow direct because I don't want to compete with snails and slugs. Don't forget to label them, and then I'm going to water them and put them on my May Sew Along staging. It's a Leaves Day on the moon phase calendar and I'm over at the allotment and I've just opened up the netting on this kale bed. And I just want you to have a look at a thing of beauty here. These kales have done so well, and I'm pulling them out as they go to seed, and then I always have spares. By the way, have I mentioned that I like kale? All right, I'm going to say something about spares. I say this all the time. Always grow spares of everything. If you can, when you sow extras all the time. I mean, you probably know how many you need of each thing after you grow for quite a while. But if you always have spares, then I've got spacers now. So I've taken kales out that have gone to seed. And here are my spare dwarf curly. This is a dwarf curly here, so this is what it's going to look like when it's full blown, and it just really is worth it. And then it just keeps going and going and going the season. I just want to show you the difference in these. These are my favorite kales to grow. So the dwarf curly is self-explanatory. Then we have this one here. This is called Pentland Brig. The leaf is actually much softer than the curly leaf. It's a great kale and it doesn't get much curlier than this. Of course we have the old Cavalloneros, but there's a particular variety that I like and it's called Black Magic. And the reason why I like it is very slow to bolt and go to seed. The most beautiful kale in here is the Dazzling Blue. And if Mr. N goes down a little bit further, there's one further down and you can look into the center of it and it is gorgeous. It has this pink rib and it's just beautiful. You can grow all of these in your ornamental garden, and look how beautiful they are. I have one more scarlet. Can you get under there, Mr. N, and pull that down? So look how beautiful that is, of scarlet kale. So when I grow my extras, I just pop them on, and then they're in these pots, and I'll show you how established they are now. There's your root system. It's fantastic. And so that now is going to go in, it's going to grow very fast, and I'm going to have more kale. And I like to have kale in the spring and the summer because it gives you a contrast of texture. Lettuce is wonderful, but lettuce tends to get a little bit soft and a bit insipid. If you can get yourself a brassica in the ground, like I said, put it in the middle of your flower border. I mean, these dwarf curly kales will grow in pots. They are absolutely beautiful. Imagine sitting on your patio and having that beautiful scarlet kale next to you. It's gorgeous. And then you can bring it in and you can make salads out of it. You can use it in rice, you can stir fry it, and it is just wonderful. It gives you a beautiful texture, and brassicas are so healthy, much healthier than lettuce. They are gorgeous. So the wonder of kale, I absolutely love the veg. Hello and welcome to day 25 of your May Sow Along with Susie B.
Yay!
It's a fruits day today on the moon phase calendar, and I am sowing squash. I am sowing one particular variety of squash, and that is called sweet dumpling.
You're a sweet dumpling.
Thank you, Mr. N. Okay, let's talk about squash. It's a little late to be sowing your big squash or your pumpkins, but at the end of May you can still sow squash that you can use either unripe or ripe, and sweet dumpling is one of them. There are some other varieties, and I will actually put them below in the description for you, so if you do fancy growing a few squash, you can grow those. Also, these are great because they're only small. Sweet dumplings probably about as big as a large apple. You can grow them vertically as well. So you could grow them in a pot, and you can grow them upwards, so they're not going to take a great deal of room. When I say unripe, I mean you can actually eat the skin like a courgette. They're very, very yummy. Let's go and sow them. These squash seeds look exactly like courgette seeds, and so therefore I sow them the same. I sow them on their sides, and I'm going to put one per module here. Again, I never sow direct when I do squash. So again, cover them with compost, label them and give them a water, and then they're going to go on my May Sow Along staging. It's a little bit wet and cold for the rest of the day today, so I'm going to spend some time in the greenhouse, but join me tomorrow for another fruits day where I will show you how I transplant my chilies and peppers. Hello and welcome to day 26 of your May Sow Along with Susie B. Today is a fruits day on the moon phase calendar, and I have exhausted all my seed sowing for fruits this month. So this is an important job this month as well, and that is potting on your chilies. May is a great time for you to get them into their final position. I grew my chilies, or sowed my chilies, back in January and December as well. The December ones are behind me. So what I got here is a beautiful specimen of a chili that is ready to go into its final position, and its final position is going to be a pot. Chilies do really well in pots. So this is how I transplant my chilies. I find that chilies don't like their roots disturbed at all. So I put enough compost into a pot so that my chili is going to be sitting just below its first true leaf. I then put the pot into the pot that I'm going to be potting into. God, there's a lot of pots. And I start filling up with compost.
What I've done is the bottom of this pot actually has used compost in it. We have a lot of compost to use when we're potting chilies and tomatoes, and compost is quite expensive. So I reuse compost. And this orange bucket here is compost that I used for something else. I can't actually remember what was in it, but half of my pot is used compost. The other half of the pot is fresh compost. So once I've filled this pot, I then take the old pot out, this 1 litre pot here. I tip it up. We've got beautiful root structure there, as you can see. Pop my hand on the bottom and I just gently pop it into its new home. It's as easy as that. Put a bit more compost on top and there you have it. You have a lovely chili ready to grow for the season. Join me tomorrow for another Fruits Day. It is our last Fruits Day for the whole of May, so along, and I will be showing you how I transplant my tomatoes.
Hello and welcome to day 27 of your May Sew Along with Susie B. Today is a Fruits Day on the moon phase calendar and I am going to transplant some tomatoes. Tomatoes are one of the most flexible veg to grow. You can grow them on your windowsill, you can grow them in hanging baskets, you can grow them in containers, in the ground, in the polytunnel, the list goes on and on and on. The easiest variety to grow is either a micro tomato or a bush tomato, and they're also categorized as determinate tomatoes. There's no side shoot taking out, you just put these in whatever you want to put them in and let them grow. So, when transplanting tomatoes, do you plant them deep or do you not plant them deep? For me, I think it all comes down to soil condition. Because I am going to be planting this into a pot, I'm going to plant it deep. And that's okay because all the nutrients are spread out equally in the compost. But if I was going to plant this into the ground, I know that my subsoil is very clayey. So because I do no dig, I've got about 6 inches of really good nutritious compost, and that's as deep as I would actually plant that plant. I would do exactly the same if I had sandy soil as well. All the nutrition is in the top of the soil. So to plant this plant deep, I am going to take off all of these little shoots that are coming out from the stem, right up to about there. And then I'm going to plant it that deep. I'm doing exactly the same as I did with my peppers yesterday. I'm going to take this tomato out of its pot and just pop it into the hole that I've made, and then fill up the rest with new compost. And there it is. I'm going to leave this in the greenhouse for a few days and then this is going to go outside. The beauty of having these small bush varieties in pots is you can move them around. So they can be in the greenhouse, they can be in the polytunnel, you can take them outside. They are great varieties. And this one is called Red Profusion. Join me tomorrow for a Roots Day and I will be sowing kohlrabi.
Ooh!
Hello and welcome to day 28 of your May Sew Along with Susie B.
Nearly there.
Today is a Roots Day on the moon phase calendar and I'm going to quickly run outside and sow some kohlrabi seeds in between the rain. So kohlrabi is actually a root that sits above the ground and you can get it in purple and you can also get it in white. And I am going to sow a white variety called Super Schmelz. Yes, the other variety, the purple one, I like to grow earlier in the year, but this is a really nice variety to sow now in May and even at the beginning of June. So let's go and sow some. If you haven't had kohlrabi before, I would give it a go because it is a lovely brassica that tastes a little bit between the stalk of broccoli and a radish. Kohlrabi seed is exactly like a brassica seed because it is a brassica seed, and I'm going to do this fast. So, if you haven't watched my videos before, I am sowing in these cells and I'm going to put 2 to 3 seeds per cell. I am then going to cover it with compost, and then I'm going to not have to water it because it's raining, and I'm going to put it on my little table for my maize sow along, and that's it.
So cheers everybody. The rosé season has started. Here are broad beans from the garden, and our favourite way to eat them is with pecorino romano. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So thank you for watching. My name is Susie B from SusyBLiving, and I will see you next time. If you subscribe, then you'll get my moon phase gardening videos and all the other videos that I'm going to load on YouTube, as well as my vlog that comes out every Tuesday evening. And I will see you later. So subscribe, and a thumbs up would be nice. I hope you're enjoying the summer, spring, summer. I'm still in my fleece. See you later.